So last time we built that cool groove box inside the Intellijel 104 HP Skiff. So today we're going to be taking it for a spin, see what works, what doesn't, and general good times. Okay, so we got the groove box here, and first I'm going to go ahead and unpatch everything and sort of go step by step as to how all this sort of came together. Okay, so a couple of things before I dive in. There are things that I changed immediately as I was working on this. Quad LFO and the quad envelope generator. It's not that they're bad. They're amazing. It just didn't fit into what I wanted to do. The other thing that I replaced was the steppy. I want to generate beats more on like these based on chants and burst and Euclidean circles. Well, it was like kind of like generative, not like punching things in. Oh, one thing I didn't mention is that I actually have like this, what I call graveyard skiff. And it's not the graveyard. It's not like they go to die, but I have a blank here. Let me show you real quick. So I have a couple of these skiffs. Again, that's just what I call like graveyard boxes where like right now it's got the mini mod, a dual LFO and VCA parked in there. So if I'm thinking about something and where the module isn't working, I'll just take them out and just park it in here for now and then pull it out for a later use. Going back to the 1U, I'll just briefly talk about the quality and what I think about the 1U modules from Mosaic. They're relatively new. I want to say that, you know, they're in the vein of the One Trick Pony modules. It's kind of like you get what you get. You know, the hi-hat I thought was a little bit disappointing in the beginning, but once I was able to kind of tweak it and you add a little bit of reverb and a delay, it's definitely workable. Even the snare, once you kind of tweak it a little bit, it works, I think, pretty well. The bass is nice and punchy and you can do a lot of things with it, but it is one-dimensional. It's very limited in the range of tones it can generate, but it's very useful. And in combination with like this mainstay, more higher quality percussion kind of thing, I think it's a fantastic secondary source to beef up and to make your like percussion and groove rhythms more complex. Let's go back to the main rack here, talking a little bit about what these guys are. Hilariously enough, again, this is just part of the thing that you learn as you start to like patch. These guys like didn't use them at all. I didn't even get to it. It was like it was getting already so complex. I didn't even have time to really focus on the bass line because I really had to get into these guys. I'll come back to this guy after, just because this is sort of the mainstay and I want to talk about this. But let's talk about the rhythm generator section. I think this was where I spent the most amount of time. So chants, I just had the notion, okay, I'm going to use this for either the snare or the hi-hat, where I had the main hi-hat sort of on the beat mostly, but then the supporting cast hat would be generated using this coin toss blend rhythm kind of thing, and it worked out fantastic. You have to dial it in a little bit, but it wasn't too hard until I felt like I had these little sort of triplet glitch ratchety kinds of sounds that added a bit of interesting complexity to the hi-hat instead of just a straight hi-hat, without working too much. And so obviously I didn't go super deep into it, but immediately it paid dividends for sure. So Chance is amazing. It's a lot of fun. Burst was something that was also a lot of fun, and I used this guy to drive the snare and essentially just to, again, create ghost notes, create complexity, and see how that goes. You know, for kind of like my level of groove generators, you know, I'm definitely a newbie when it comes to generating grooves, but I know what I like and what I don't like. And again, this is in the spirit of like learning the modules, not necessarily trying to be some kind of a, you know, beat maker. And burst is just really cool. And I can also think about these guys, including Euclidean circles, like using it not just in like drum beat groove stuff, but a bunch of other things, even like just controlling CVs with these. So just a few hours that I spent doing this, but getting really deep into these individual racks have really got me appreciating the level of depth that I can get to with these, creating more creative pathways that I could take my journey on. So super fun to have this, and it worked. This is the thing that actually worked the way I thought it would. Lol. This whole section didn't work the way I thought. This section did. Just, but that's how it goes, right? So the star of the thing, this was kind of intimidating at first, because if you look online, the manual is definitely a little thin, and it just looks super confusing. But now I'm using it, I'm like really getting the hang of it. But like in the beginning, we're like, oh my gosh, this is like, so I was pulling my hair out. I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be rough. But actually, it was pretty not that hard. It was actually really simple to use. Once I figured out and just kind of put my brain part into figuring out what all these knobs meant and what's this mix, and all the buttons do. Like, it's weird at first. It was definitely a brain tease, but now I know it. In fact, I actually have to spend a few minutes just refreshing myself what it is, and then I get it. But it seems like that's how modules are. The sound is great. Obviously, you can just tell how much more transparent, less harsh. I mean, I know this is the digital based thing and this is analog based. Again, I could be wrong. I think that's what it is. But whatever the case is, I like the sound of this and the ability to control it, and just the layout. It all makes sense to me now, and it's really intuitive. It's very performance friendly. And another cool thing is I haven't even begun to explore, loading up my own samples here with this SD card. So I only, in this particular patch, just the classic drums machine, the 808 drum machine. But even then, it was really, really fun. And texture-wise, it kind of blended with these mosaics, so it worked out great. I don't think I could actually recreate that patch, because when I unpatched it, like, I'm not going to write this down. That's not the point of modular synths. But I'm going to try to roughly recreate what I think I did and just kind of walk you through like what the patching process was. I have these headphone stands here, and I just essentially put these these cables on these headphone stands. So yeah, I usually patch the clock to my mults here. Okay, so there's the clock. I'm going to try to get the kick up and running into the trigger. So this is the left and right out of this main. So I'm just trying to get the just the kick sound out. All right, here we go. So I'm going to patch this in, and should be able to hear the. Yeah, so that's this is just a simple little drum voice being triggered by Euclidean circles. Yeah, that's the one. Sometimes I get confused, like which is page 1, page 2. I'm not like the best of like tutorial person. There's so many other great YouTubers. This is one that I couldn't find, and I was sort of like on my own, which is okay, reading the manual. But like, if I realized how flexible this thing was, I thought, okay, well, I probably need another kick drum, and that's where the bass drum comes in. And I think I have that triggered on this. This is the out, and I just gonna go directly into mono to the second channel, and then I'm gonna drive it with the Euclidean just to, and I think I have this rhythm set already. Is it even? And this was just, whatever, some other syncopated thing that's like, okay, it's cool. But, so they're not fighting in the same space. So this is a little bit higher pitched. This is more musical, right? So you can kind of tweak this on the fly, and it's right here. Okay, so now I'm just like trying to spend some time trying to tweak whatever is annoying or repetitive to me, and trying to just kind of get that out of the groove. Sounds like weird. I want to balance that with the mainstay hi-hat, which I have here, which is the red. The idea, again, it's a pretty simple patch idea, right? I have the mainstay that's like really predictable, and then underneath that, just add a little bit of complexity so that it's not so static. And I was trying to get the hat to ratchet using burst. Okay, so I think the Groovebox was a pretty big creative success for me. I think the concept of having these skiffs, having a theme, limiting the modules, and really deep diving into specific things that I wanted to kind of learn, I did. So that was fun. Second, like the concept of having a real agile and nimble setup allowed me to like really quickly react to some kind of like goofy things that I thought that I needed to swap out. Like there were modules that just wasn't working when I was convinced just a few minutes ago that it would be perfect. But because my setup was pretty frictionless, I was able to adapt and change them out really quickly. And finally, I think the really interesting thing, the first 30 minutes of the patch, I was pretty discouraged, off camera, because I'm like, this is sounding really bad. Like it was noisy. There was like just trying to set up the two kick drums. Like I didn't like the bass wasn't sitting right. And I was listening to it on my headphones. Like how is this going to translate, in a car? And I was having all these crazy thoughts about like, it just wasn't polished. And I had to really stop myself from getting discouraged and not moving forward, because I was so focused on like, this isn't like some album like polished thing that I'm trying to do. Like I focused too much on the mix where I wasn't making any progress on learning the modules. So for next time, I really, within reason, right? And I still want it to sound like relatively like the levels are mixed, but I'm not worrying about like fine precision EQ. I'm not like trying to glue the mix with something or like, sidechain compression or like multi-band compression. Like I just can't worry about that kind of stuff. It just has to be decently mixed and get the workflow going, because that's what this is. And honestly, it was really hard coming from a production background to not that be a stumbling block. But instead, I was able to overcome it and like, look, I need to set that aside and just make it good enough so that it's balanced. Don't worry about the tone too much, like the precision. And then just enjoy, like remember why you built this, which is to say you're trying to learn the modules, you're trying to understand the possibilities, you're trying to like make these grooves that's a little bit more generative, not like exact where you're like punching it out on a step sequencer or drawing it in Ableton. So creatively, that was it was a great journey of just kind of unlearning and learning. So